All right. I'm gonna start at the collection page for you, or sorry, the product page, because to me that's the most important page in your store. And then we can work up or down from there and give you feedback. I'm just gonna bounce around as I go through stuff, and just speak my mind as I see certain things. So here overall on the product page, there's lots of content, which is good. I think you were mentioning in your thing, like maybe there's too much content. I personally don't believe in too much content, but I do think that you have to make sure it's consumable and it doesn't distract people from getting to what they want to do if they just want to buy a product, right? And here, let's actually look at this on mobile. And what's funny is, what looks good on desktop usually doesn't look good on mobile. And, here's a real example here how crowded this gets up here. Like I always put like a different message on mobile than I do on desktop. And the fact that this screen is different than this screen, little things like that start adding up. But you can see here, right, I've got this add to cart button. I'm sorry, my fat face is in the way there. I got this add to cart button here, and it's got that footer one there. So there's two of them at all times, which is kind of weird at this moment here, but that doesn't last for long. But you can see, things that looked good on desktop don't look as good on mobile. One example here were the tabs. Yeah, this kind of stuff here starts getting a little wonky on mobile. So, one of the things I always recommend is you're, looking at your site, always evaluate it on mobile. Now I'm going to stay on desktop just so I can see more at one time kind of thing. But if you optimize for mobile, what you're going to find is your sites have a lot less content on them, or they're a lot cleaner, or you think diligently about what you're adding and where you're adding it and those kind of things. Because it's easy to throw stuff up here and have it look good on desktop. Actually, let's see what this looks like on mobile, right? It's it gets harder on mobile to understand what goes together and what's the overall message kind of stuff. So as you're redesigning your site, go ahead and think about mobile only, mobile only, mobile only. You cannot go wrong doing that because probably 80-90% of your traffic is mobile, right? So Battle Pack 28L, I'm assuming that means 28 liters. Got a price nice and bright there, 43 reviews. That's good. I can link down and see it. You can judge me. I personally don't like their little badges because they don't map to your brand. But I love the content that I see here. I love, I would actually show the image carousel up here, which you can do in the settings. I'm not a fan of allowing people to write a review here. I prefer to only do it for people that have purchased, so I turn that off. And they've also got AI summaries. I don't know if they have it on the product page yet. They do have it. Let's see if you've got it on the home page. The AI summaries are kind of, becoming standardized because one of the things that AI is actually good at is summarizing information. I just want to see if you have the Yeah, so you don't have the carousel. You definitely want your review carousel on the home page. So let's go back here. Now, I'm not a fan of this little read more thing for two reasons. One, I just don't like them. I prefer accordions to those. And two, when I click on your read more, it shows me extra white space. There's no more content behind it. So this read more logic is a little bit broken, right? And once again, as I click on different things and I want to learn more about this bag, every single time I've got to click on the read more. And you got broken images there, which is just you got broken images everywhere. It's coming from Shopify. Just something is broken about it. No. So figuring out what the root cause of that is and fixing it would be a good thing, right? But clicking through these now, I like to put shipping and warranty in a different place than the thing because this is about the products and this is around the service. So I like to separate them out, but there's no right or wrong there, right? Now let's look at your photos because they're the most important thing on this page. Um, I don't know why there's this white space here. So this theme is showing a couple little wacky things, right, as we do this, which is normal. Themes are wet. Oh, because there's something there and it's not. It's a video. So the video is not showing up in the thumbnails for whatever reason. Um, Because I was going to say, the first thing you need, like every store in 2025, is video. So I'm glad you have one. Awesome. All right, I like that. I like the fact you're doing video. Let's put it that way. And you got your daughter in the background. That's adorable, right? Um, People love the family story and all that good stuff. So I like that. Um, One of the things I could think about here is let's go through all your photos, right? So I like this photo in that it's a flat lay. Um, the zoom in looks a lot better than here just because of the compression. You can see it's got the green lines in it, but when you zoom in, you can see the details. That's nice. Um, that image helps me a little bit from the first one because now I can see the side pocket, right? That's cool. Now the carousel's not working, so there's something wrong with your theme, and maybe it's because there's another video here, or is that just an image? So that's a lifestyle image. Now we got a full side view. We had a quarter side view a minute ago. Now I got the back view. I got a detail view, an inside detail view, another lifestyle image. Oh my God, I have no fucking idea what that is. Yeah, that does not help me at all. I think what you're trying to show is the overall ecosystem of bags and how they all go together, but that's not helping me make a decision on this product. And now we're back to the front. Okay, so one of the things I would think about here is making a video, and you can just do it from static photos, right, of the rotating image type of thing, where they can just spin it and just see all sides of the bag, right? Because I'm a total bag geek, and I like looking at all the pockets and all the details. And that could be a useful thing here, in addition to the your video overview of things. Um, so there's another video there that you could add as the animation one. Another one that would be nice, I'm going to look at the Joe Rogan video here in a minute. I just want to see if there's any other videos. Well, I guess this is the photo carousel I mentioned before, I think, although it's not clickable, so maybe it's not. Yeah, EAM review UGC. Yeah, I'm not sure what that is or how it's getting in there. Um, So videos of your clients' testimonial or customers' testimonials would be fabulous here, right? On this page somewhere. Your customers talking about your product. You're already talking about it, and then have a video of the product itself in rotation. Now, what I want to see here is this video about this product or is it about the brand? So let's find out. All right, so they're talking about the robe, the gi, right? They're not talking about the bag, which this stuff, but so my guess is this is a brand element, not a product element. And I get the whole Joe Rogan approved thing. They're that's pretty influencer high profile influencer there. Not sure it helps on this page, right? Kind of thing. Um, but I could be totally wrong. You probably know your audience. Oh, by the way, I like the way that really gets bright when you hover over it. That's nice. You probably know your audience better than I do, but that I think I would be talking more about the product here than building this brand thing here. Now let's keep looking. Yeah, so this doesn't help either in my mind, right? So ordering reliable gear has never been easier. Right now, what I'm supposed to be doing on this page is deciding, do I want this product or not? And the first thing it says is find your style. Well, that doesn't help. That is just rhetoric BS, right? It just says nothing, right? Um, and it doesn't help me with this product. Just like this doesn't help me with this product, this doesn't help me with this product. Now, this is awesome, right? And what I was looking for up here was an infographic, and I didn't see it, right? And I was holding my tongue until I looked down. Now, here's the problem, though, is all I need, this is not the product I'm looking at. This is not the product I'm looking at. This is not the product I'm looking at. I think this is the product. I think, yeah, the same size, or it looks like the same size to me. So what I would do in this infographic is just show this product, and like the adjustable and removable waist strap probably doesn't apply to this product, right? Smart zippers probably does, but I would have the infographic just for this product, and I would make an infographic for every single one of your products, a separate one, not one that applies to all of them, right? All right, that's good messaging. That's good messaging. Okay, this isn't bad, right? Now we're showing the reviews here again. Is there really a need for that in the Shopify Secure Checkout? Is there a need for that? Are they really going to add to the cart from here? Um, Not too sure. We'll get back up to that section up there. But I like the infographic, right? And I could see one or two infographics about the product. Um, Love the family story. So here's the thing. You're really strong on this hemp stuff, right? And I get that. Like you're selling hemp-made products, but do you need to focus so much on that? Maybe you do, maybe you don't, right? But the marijuana leaf here, you're talking about hemp here. Um, Up here, we're talking about superior hemp that resists wear and tear. Up here, he's talking about how it's hemp and it's tougher than anything else. And if so, I think what you're trying to do with your brand is you're not selling hemp gear for the sake of selling hemp gear, right? I think. I think you're selling hemp gear because of the properties of the material, right? So if this was, I'm just going to call it, carbon SC470, right? Which is something I just made up, right? If this was carbon SC470, would you talk about carbon FC470 10 times on the page? Or would you just say stronger than anything else, right? Um, Sometimes people don't need to be convinced of your summary. They just need to be told your summary. Now, I do think the, made with hemp is valuable in your story. It just seems like it's so much the dominant tone of the story of this product versus a piece of the tone of the product, right? I think, what it should be is this is the most functional bag for you, period, right? It's going to last longer, it's stronger, it holds things, it's antimicrobial, it's, whatever, right? Um, I would talk about how this, the last bag you'll ever need type messaging. And hemp is a part of that story, but right now it's just like hemp is the story when I look at it. Um, so we're talking about this here. You know, the images are about family. This is you doing the product video. I don't know what this is about, right? So these images and this text don't go together. Over 10 years of creating equipment that battles through life with you, right? So nothing here says 10 years, nothing here in the images says 10 years or battling through life, right? Which is fine, right? I like the images. I'm just saying they don't go together, right? And most pieces of equipment are built to fall apart after a year. That's So this is what I think is, the value prop is, we make quality products that are built to last, right? Um, and what's our secret? We make products from hemp. Going back to what I was just talking about, I like this, right? I like the way you start. Like, here's the important thing. By the way, here's our secret sauce and how we make it happen. Yeah, I'm just reading the stuff here. You could have a section on, why is hemp fucking awesome, right? And just have a section about that instead of, interspersing it throughout everything. But I would lead with we make quality products that are built to last, right? Um, we talked about this. We talked about this. Customers usually ask. So this is an FAQ. Once again, images are missing. An FAQ that is not specific to this product. So I don't know how helpful that is because you already have, policies stuff up here with warranty and shipping, which are covered down there. So I could see simplifying some of this. You'd asked about that before in the beginning. It seems like there are some gratuitous things, and like this stuff here feels like it matches this copy up here better, right? And I wouldn't, normally I'll show you a real example of this, right? So I just redesigned the store this past year, as in 2025, for Emerson Knives. And I really wanted to stress the family side of their business, right? So you've got Ernie, who started the business in 1979, marry his wife, Megan, and his other daughter, and Lucas isn't in this photo, but he's in, this one over here. When the photos, they changed their story page. Okay, they took down their photos for whatever reason. But what we don't do is we don't talk about the family nature on a knife page, right? So when we're looking at a knife, we talk about the knife, and we're actually still not done building out the content on this page, because we're building out all these little sections for different things, different aspects. Like we're missing the one about the flipper, and this one doesn't have a wave. No, it does have a wave, but it's not showing the wave here. But we're building out more content here. So when you're thinking about the features of the knife, you can open that up and learn about the features. And we talk about other knives in the same family kind of thing. But notice here, we're not doing all the brand building stuff on the product page. Now, if you're sending ads straight to your product page, you might do that, but I prefer to make landing pages for ads and not have them go straight to the product page. But what I do like, right, is to leave the branding stuff in the footer so people can. That's the one I wanted to go to. Well, we've got two different links. This is the photo I thought we were going to, the page I thought we were going to. This is actually Lucas when he was a baby, and here's Lucas now, kind of thing. So we're leaning heavily on that family story in this brand, but we don't put it on every product page, right? We don't do all the branding elements on the product page, right? We don't talk about how they were, knife of the year at Blade Show and stuff like that on every product page. We do talk about it on the knife they won it with kind of stuff. But my point being, when you think about focusing your site on your product page, if it's not about this product, you probably don't need it there, right? And I know I've contradicted myself when I said that, because I was looking at some stuff like, oh, this is nice. But I would also take some of that off and make sure you have that content. It just doesn't need to be on the product page, right? And if we go back up to the top, we didn't talk about, these icons here. I don't see much use for those, but it's not the worst thing in the planet. I do like icons here that talk about your value props, right? But what I would do there is, in addition to the ones you have, right? So durable, that says something, right? But can you be bolder with that, right? And like, here you go, 3-year warranty, right? So I would take that 3-year warranty and I would have an icon up there for 3-year warranty, right? Money back guarantee, made with hemp. That's good. Is sustainable really something your customers care about? I understand why you're saying it. I actually read your content before about how hemp is sustainable compared to other materials and all that kind of stuff. I get it, but do your customers care, right? And the way you find that out is you go down. Oh, you don't have an all reviews page, but what you can do, right, is you can. We just did this the other day for one of our clients, right? We actually exported all their Judge Me reviews and gave to AI and said, do a word analysis on this and tell me what words people use when they talk positively about the products and what words people use when they talk negatively about the products. And what you want to do is the words that people use in your reviews, those are the words you want to talk about. So if they talk about sustainable, then you say sustainable. If they don't mention sustainable in your reviews a lot, you don't talk about it. So, they talk about quality, they talk about durable. Let's just see if we can see some other words here quickly. Quality, right? Attention to detail. Quality. See the word quality a lot, right? So what you want to do when you're selling your product is highlight the things that your customers care about, which you judge by their reviews, and use the words they use to talk about it. So I would look through all this stuff and say, all right, and we actually did this with a client. Like I said, we came up with a list of words that, for positive and for negative things. The negative stuff we're going to work on or think about, hey, how do we, bring up objections or counterpoints to those things. But then we're changing the language on the product pages and throughout the marketing to map to the words that our customers are using about it. So up here, you should have, what you want to do at this point right here, right, is you want them to add to cart. So these are meant to push them over the edge. Any hesitation they have to adding it to the cart should be, you want to, object right here. And so they're like, well, how long is this bag going to last? Oh, 3-year warranty, money back guarantee, those kind of things become super important there, right? I think, well, there's one more section on the product page. Yeah, this stuff here. So this should be one of your top value props on this page, I believe. Because I think you're trying to sell a quality bag, right? The customers are saying that, you're saying it also, so it's resonating with them. This is your biggest proof point of that, in addition to the customer testimonial videos that you'll have up there in the future, right? Get new gear today. I fucking hate this, right? And I hate this in every store that does this. This is not limited to you. And that's because, someone got to this page by clicking on a bunch of things on your site, right? So they were on the home page and they went to bags and they looked at all the different bag options you had and they picked this one. Why, after they've done all that work and tell you they care about a backpack, would you want to try to say, wouldn't you rather have a tote bag? It's just unnecessary, right? And I know everybody in the world does it, right? And the biggest example I have of that is Amazon does this. On an Amazon product page, they're probably pointing to at least 30 other products on a product page. But that's because Amazon has no confidence at all that you're on the right product page because they have literally almost 1 billion products in their store, right? And they have so much choice. You try to buy a spatula, you spend 45 minutes looking across 100 different spatulas kind of thing. You've only got one 28-liter bag, right? If they pick backpack, they've got like 4 sizes to choose from. These are not hard decisions. Therefore, we have more confidence than Amazon does that they're on the right product page. So we don't need to do this. And another thing that's going on here is, the design of this, the shadow effect, right, is different than here, right, than here, than here. You're doing the rounded, you're doing the, oh, this one has the shadow effect. So there's a lot of inconsistency on the way things are presented. Not much, but enough, right? Makes me wonder, like, how many different apps are rendering different elements and things like that. So that is my feedback for the product page. Now let's take this backpack. And, oh, that took a second or two. And we go straight to the checkout page. We don't have a cart page. Interesting. Let's see if I can get to the cart this way. No, you are not doing, oh, there's a cart page. I like cart pages because this is where you can do some marketing and merchandising, right? So, here you could be saying, hey, would you like the sunglass accessory that goes with this bag? Or would you like, whatever your popular, impulse items are, kind of thing. I would get rid of the extra stupid buy buttons that Shopify puts in there. But you could use this page to do some merchandising. But the way you've got your page set up now, or your site set up now, not many people are seeing this. It isn't the worst thing on the planet, though. Now let's go look at your checkout. That's really hard to read. Bad contrast up there. Now let's check out his guest and see what it looks at like not through shop. So you're using the bright green here as your highlight color. I would use the darker green that is your add to cart button by default before you hover over it. And then I would also, you look at this branding here. Well, this is not good, right? I would probably get rid of the background image because it's not working for you here. But what you could do is make sure that this branding maps more to your store's branding. And what I mean by that is have the, this, 222 or whatever, shade of black that is, have that be your background in the header. Then this is going to look a little bit better, although I still don't like the contrast there. And then, your pages, are your pages black? Or is it just the backgrounds that I'm seeing on the products that are black? And let's go here. Yeah, I guess your pages are a white, and that's okay. But I would put that, I'd make your header look a little more like this inside of the checkout experience. And then you'll have a little more consistency, right? It feels like a different logo. Is it a different size or a different color? It's just size, okay. So let's talk about your collection page now. Let's go to backpacks. So here, you're doing what most people do in their collection pages, and you're listing your products. Right? And there's no filters here, and there's no sort order. Like, let's say I don't know what backpack to buy. I can't filter by the most popular. Now, there's not a lot of difference between these backpacks, so filters might be unnecessary. However, this one is for disc golf, right? I don't know the difference between a Spartan bag and a battle pack. So let's see if I can click on a Spartan bag and figure that out in 3 seconds or less. No, I can't. A cinch sack. Oh, okay. I get it. At first, I thought it was a garment bag for a second. Okay, so that's under backpacks, which is fine. But what you have here is you're making two choices when you pick the 28-liter backpack, right? The first choice you're making is you want a backpack. And then the second choice you're making is what size backpack you want, right? So here you've got a cinch bag, a tote bag, whatever you want to call it. You've got a disc golf bag, and then you got backpacks. Well, what you could do here is you could break them out into groups like that. Let me give you a real example of this one. So let's go to Reptichip. And what they do is they make coconut substrate for your snake or your turtle's tank, right? And what we used to do on the substrate page is we just listed all their substrates. And then we said, well, hey, our most popular substrate is ReptiChip. And it comes in two different sizes, the ready to use and the breeder block, which is just compressed, right? And then we have specialty substrates. And then we highlight the differences between them, right? Now, the Rep to Earth, there's two different sizes, right? But the microchip, you can see we highlight the chip size and chip size and chip size. So we're not explaining how these products are all the same. We're explaining how they're different, right? So for you, going back to here, I could see, at the top, backpacks. Choose your size, 16L, 28L, 45L, 66L. Disc golf, right? I would have a heading like this, disc golf, and just show one bag underneath it, and then cinch sack, or whatever words you use to describe this, and just one thing underneath it. And that way you're breaking it out, so I can look at those three sections, decide which one is right for me, and then look at what's under that section, and then make another decision. So I'm making one decision at a time, and I'm conscious of what those decisions are because it's made clear to me the differences between the products, right? So let's look at another category. So duffel bags, that's just size. I want to see if there's one of these that, let's try here. Yeah, this is a great example, right? So, on this one here, it's just shorts. These are pants. And once again, there's no filters. There's no sort, right? So there's no tools here to help me understand the differences of these products. So you could, and this one's just the belt, right? So you could definitely improve this page along the same lines of what I'm talking about on the bag page. And you could probably do that across a lot of yours. Now, the other thing I would say here is, let me just click on bags. So bags takes me to all bags. Once again, no filters, no sort. And what you could do here, right, I call it a list of collections page. You could, when you click on bags, so Joe Rogan fanny pack. Oh, so I'm just wondering, like, there's a lot of menu items here. And all those menu items only add up to that many products. Like, maybe we got too many menu items. Maybe we're making it too hard for people. Let's see what you have for laptop, messenger, and satchel. Yeah, I don't know the bag space well enough to give you concrete explanations of the way I would change things, but I would look at, how can you clean that up a little bit? And maybe one of the ways you do it is when you click on bags, instead of showing a collection, you show what I call a list of collections page. Let's show you that here. Trying to think, do I have it in Emerson, or do we go straight to the collection? If I click on EDC, yeah. So see here, even though it looks like we're looking at knives, we're actually looking at families of knives. So this is a page, not a collection, right? So when I click on the commander, what I see now is this is a content-rich page, but I see the different commander choices that there are, right? So what you could do on yours is when you click on bags, it takes you to a page that shows you all the options in the menu. It just repeats them, right? So backpacks, duffel bags, blah, 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 down the road. And then you could have one at the end that says see all, right? And then if you wanted to, you could actually put a little explanation in those on what the differences between those are, if they're not intuitive, but they're probably fairly intuitive. All right, hopefully that makes sense. So that's a collection page and the list of collection page. Now let's talk about your navigation at the top, which is how most people are going to find what they're looking for, right? I doubt they're searching much in your store. I would keep this top just shopping, right? Which means just get rid of the information one. And all that information, you should actually keep that information, but that information should go down to the footer. So you got bags, martial arts, apparel, and accessories. What I do not like at all is this stupid store-wide quick links thing. Right? Once again, I've said I want to know about apparel, and I'm seeing this stuff that is not related to apparel. And I got confused because I'm hovering, and my eyes are over here, and this is not changing at all. So I didn't see the menu change at all until I started looking over here. Like, oh, and so and this is way over there. Now on mobile, it's going to be different and not as big of a deal. But I would not have this stuff on all of these mega menus, right? And you can get a little more graphical with your mega menus, like you are doing here, more image based. Now let's look at our martial arts. Yeah, see, that's a lot of menu items once again here for very few things. Like you might be making it more complex with the mega. You could just get rid of them and just click on martial arts and have a couple images for the couple different buckets they fall in, right? You got gis, shorts, pants, and belt and shirt, right? Let's look at apparel. So a lot of this is redundant with martial arts, which I understand why you would do that. Once again, not a lot of products. You probably don't need all this stuff going on here, right? Let's look at accessories. A lot of this seems to be overlapping with bags, right? I would have the bag stuff just over in the bag section, not in the accessories. But you know your products better and your customers better than I do. Your daughter's cute. All right. So nav isn't well. The top nav, get rid of that. Maybe you don't need the mega menus if you do better landing pages for each of these top level buckets. Make it easier for people that way. Now let's look at your about content. So your policies are you're showing privacy. You're not showing. So you've got a shipping policy on the product page. Return. You want to show your return, shipping, and you got your privacy and your terms of use all here in the footer, so people can find them regardless of where they are on the site. Because people do care about return policies and that kind of stuff. That page is just not welcoming at all. Gets the point across completely, but not welcoming at all. So let's go. Your about contents up here. I click on information. I click on information. It takes me to the customer service page. That's because that's the first item there. Okay. FAQ. I assume it's gonna be similar to what we saw on. Yeah. See, these are policies, not FAQ. Right, and you can put them in both places. Don't get me wrong. You can repeat this stuff there, but you've got the policies. My only point is separate them out and put them on policy pages for those things. All right, so content, information. So yeah. See, I'm so used to over here. This content is bullshit I don't care about, that I only look at this. That when I come here, I thought this was either BS I didn't care about or redundant to this. I see why you don't like your mega menus, because I agree with you. I don't like them either. Because I was looking, because to me, the most important thing is this about page. And I think about pages are way undervalued in Shopify stores, especially with what I think your story is, right? So the dog's face is really funny there. It's like a cartoon with the teeth. So, I would expect this to be front and center kind of thing. Not that we're going to have this in a mega menu because it's not going to be up in the top now, but this is the page I want to look at. So, is this the meaning of Datsura? Because it's not exactly clear, right? I would make that a little clearer. Um, I hate missions um, because they're just usually BS, right? Um, and like, here's the thing. I'm gonna guess right now that it's you and your wife doing this, right? You're not a big company. You're passionate about this space for X, Y, and Z reasons, and you guys are running it as a family, and it sustains this happy family living their life, right? When I see the things like method, culture, and philosophy, when I see the mission, uh, it sounds like Coca-Cola or General Motors, right? You should embrace the fact that you're a small company, that you're family owned, and you have a story, right? People love making human connections, and brands are built by telling stories. And I'm going to read your story here in a second, right? But well, let's read it now, right? Yeah, so I want to see you doing mixed martial arts. I want to see a photo of, your fellow martial artist, wearing your first things, which probably didn't look as good as your current ones today, but that gives you that street cred and validity, right? Yeah, you could do a lot more with this story. It sounds like you have a good story, interesting story, a story people are going to care about and resonate with, right? Double down and go nuts with it. Now, I don't know who Alan Watts is. All right, let's see what this is. Yeah, this is not story, right? This is not the kind of story that it's entertaining. Don't get me wrong, but it's not the kind of story that I'm going to tell when someone sees my backpack and go, "Well, that backpack's cool," and I'm going to go, "Yeah, they got this great anime video that talks about working harder," right? Um, where if someone says, "Hey, that's a great backpack," and I go, "Yeah, this guy Chris Odell, he started this stuff with $3,000 making his first bags in 2007 for his MMA buddies, and now he's grown into a business that sustains his whole family, and they're American, they're blah blah blah, they're blah blah blah." Like people love that part of the story, right? And that's what's not coming across here enough, right? Um, so what I would do is photos are really compelling, videos are really compelling. Figure out what your story is, your true, honest story that people care about and are going to resonate with. Tell that here. Show everybody that works in your company. If it's one person, show one person. If it's 15 people, show 15 people, right? And I'll give you a real example of that. Not that they're showing people in this one because these guys are kind of weird about that. But in the game steward, if it's the game store, yeah, it's the game store. What we did for their about is we actually showed their warehouse, which may sound weird, but we'll get it. Show you. So here, yeah. Now we photoshopped their logo onto the door on the side of the building, but they actually own this building, right? And the point why that's so important is these guys sell board games, And there are a lot of people in the Kickstarter board games specifically, right? There are a lot of people that sell board games that are literally doing it out of their basement, and they're amateurs, right? These guys have been doing it since I think it's 2013. We show it on their homepage, I think. Oh, they got their winter sale up right now. Oh, there it is, 2013, right? So they've been in business for 12 years doing this, and they do so much business they actually have a warehouse, right? So that was part of their street cred that we wanted to show there. Um, so for you, tell your story, whatever it is. If you have a factory, show the factory. If you have a warehouse, show the warehouse. If it's you and the wife in the basement on a sewing machine, show that too, right? There's nothing wrong with that. But show the real story and how things got started. Let people see the evolution. Like, oh my God, look at the beginnings and how humble they were, how silly it was, whatever. But look at them today, kind of thing, and how far they've come. So the about page, super, super important. Yours can definitely use some improvement. I want to see you talking. I want to see the family talking, other employees talking. Photos and video are great and tell the full story. Now let's look at the rest of the information stuff. We saw those. Military responder discounts. Yeah, you can do a better tone setting on pages by, let's actually see what we did for Emerson for their military discount before I recommend something that maybe we didn't do. So military and first responders. Yeah, we didn't do much branding on this one either, so I'll shut up about that. But some of your pages, like the service one, the customer service one, were just really small. And all you need is like a banner image to set a little bit of tone on those kind of things. Now this one is, well, retailers, I assume it's a stockist. Oh, you've just got a couple. Okay, so yeah, doing that this way is totally fine. Now you could actually put in like a map for them kind of thing so people could see where it is. And then, yeah, this one. You don't have any right now. So what I would recommend is you do this on your website, all right? And let's see if we still have it going on with Healing Home Foods. Healing Home Foods, they sell crackers and granola. And every time they make crackers and granola, they have crumbs. We actually sell the crumbs, right? It's under, I took it down because we put up Food Lab today. So let's show you Food Lab. So Food Lab, these are their experimental products. They're trying out new flavors. And this is just today we launched this, right? And this will be sold out by tomorrow probably. But they're trying out new flavors of things. So what we do is, we only sell those things to people on their email list. It's one of the reasons you sign up for the email list is to get notified of odds and ends in Food Lab products. And it has been hugely successful. We launched this store a year ago, and they told me, like, oh, we just dropped the products on Friday. Like, oh no, we're gonna do it once a month. We're gonna sell it out in a day every single time. Which means if we're not sold out, we actually take the products down to appear like we sell out, to make sure people are living understanding these are limited time and rushing in to get their inventory filled up of them. But I would sell your odds and ends and your discounts on your website, and we do the same thing in Emerson. We don't have it up right now, but we do for the holiday, where these products I'm going to show you here are only live for today. This one here. So they have a limited inventory of kitchen knives. Wow, they sold tons of them today. But they're once they're gone, which is why we show the inventory so people go, oh, there's only one Kitchen Angus left. I got to get it, kind of thing. But I would have that if you're selling, your odds and ends, your second hands or your returns, whatever you want to call them. You don't need eBay for that. You can do that right on your site, and you can make that a value prop, right? Sign up for our email list and get notified of when we're dropping open items and prototypes, right? People love that stuff. Problem with plastic. This is probably some reason on why you should use hemp. Nothing wrong with the content. I wouldn't make that, as we said before, header content. Why hemp? That makes sense. I would have in your about section an about us and an about hemp, right? Are we using green text everywhere, or is that just on this page? Let's see if we go here. I didn't think I saw green text. Yeah, so there's just some inconsistency there. Um, but that page, the images are so huge and the text is so small, there's really not a lot of information being provided until I go down. What's the. That's weird. So I don't know what that was, right? I just started. It sounds like your podcast or something, but it said play video, and that was not a video that I saw. Um, yeah, these mega menus are driving me nuts. The hover, see, the hover doesn't work until the page loads, which is really bad. Um, but yeah, I think the layout of this could be a lot more compelling and full of information, even though you have it down the bottom here. Um, you might want to lay this out a little bit better. And then the podcast. We'll click on one of these, see what it looks like. Yeah, one of the things I do with the podcast is I will put a transcript on this page. So then that'll help you with getting indexed in search because there's more content there. Show what that looks like here. When I go to my podcast, let's just pick up this one here, and we'll probably see the transcript down here. And just helps with indexing and search. But I like the fact you have that as a separate blog. And then you've got this other blog. I guess you got two other blogs. The company and gear blog. And then whatever this one is. Now, for me, the reason blogs exist is to drive traffic to your site, not engage people on your site. So the most important thing is this driving traffic to your site? And if it is it also then converting? And that conversion can be signing up for email or purchasing a product. Right? What we actually do with our clients, we look at we build scorecards for them. Let's just go to Rep2Chip, for example, because we've done a lot of blog work in Rep2Chip, and it's still not successful, which is why I want to point out to you here. And this is how we measure that. Once it comes up. Yeah, I don't see the video of me either, so we might have a problem with my internet connection here. Let's try one more time. All right, so here, what I would look at is, the source of traffic being organic, And then what you'll see over here, blog, 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 right? Blogs are driving lots of traffic to this store. And then what we do is we look at how many purchasers did we get, 54 for a 1.2% conversion, and how many email signups, 61. So, we're measuring the success of organic traffic not just by sales, but by email signups also. So a total of 115 people were successful from all this traffic, instead of just looking at the purchase number. All right, I think we've looked through all of your pages. Let's just look in a blog and see if you're doing anything to drive them deeper into your site. Now, I don't think I got an email pop-up from you, which the comment stuff completely unnecessary, the share stuff completely unnecessary. You do have an email sign up, which looks theme-ish. Is that the theme or is that Klaviyo? Oh, you're using Klaviyo. That's cool. So I would have pop-up, also, and you might have a site-wide pop-up that you use, whatever the value prop for that's going to be, and then you could have another one on these pages, right? Give them another pop-up when they land on a blog, because the whole thing you're trying to do, right, is if this is traffic coming from the outside, you need to capture their email. And you also could think about putting on here some merchandising, which just could be, your 4 top categories, or maybe your 3 top categories: bags, martial arts, and apparel. Just have collection images here so that they want to, they're interested a little bit more. Instead of leaving a comment, they can, convert into a shopping experience. But like I said, that email becomes really important. So I would even put a pop-up there on those pages. All right, let's look at your home page. All right, we already mentioned the 2 different greens here. We've got 2 different blacks, which is fine. Now, I do not like this image. And the reason is, don't get me wrong, I like the image. I don't think it's the right image for this space, right? And the reason for that is, I'm assuming right now, so this is an assumption on my part, and if I'm wrong, then this image is fine. But I assume your bags are a bigger part of your business than your keys, right? So when I see this image, and all I can say is, oh, I'm not into MMA, I'm in the wrong place, right? So if a bulk of your customers and products sold are not this, you may be not scaring them away, but misleading them or some kind of thing. One of the ways to combat that, let's just go back to Jade Puma, is you could show something like this, right, where you're showing multiple things, which is what we do in Rhino also. So let's go there and show you in our real store instead of mine. So here, when it comes up, right, these guys sell sports supplements for bicyclists, for kayakers, for motocross, for mountain biking, for runners and climbers and all that kind of stuff. So we show the variety of endurance sports that they're focused on, not just one endurance sport. Because it used to be motocross, right? We used to show a guy flying through the air with a motorcycle, but they're trying to broaden out their appeal, so they're showing more target customers on that page. So you could have something like modern hemp gear built for adventure. On one side you could have somebody doing martial arts. On the other side you could have someone with one of your backpacks traveling the world or doing whatever your customers do, kind of thing, right? So modern hemp gear built for adventure. Once you've heard me talk about the hemp thing. I think what you're selling are super strong bags. They're not bulletproof, they're not ballistic, but I think it's about the strength and durability of them. But once again, you go back to the reviews that I talked about, do a word analysis, see what words your customers are using, and figure out what the message should be, right? strong, sustainable, antimicrobial. Once again, I don't think sustainable and maybe antimicrobial is important. I don't think either of those two are as important as other things, like great design or, manly or, whatever the words are kind of thing. I would definitely think about what these words are. These words are super important, right? And honing in on the words that resonate with your audience the best is valuable. The as seen in is a good thing. You can put it here or elsewhere. There's nothing wrong with it here. I had mentioned before that this contrast, I didn't like it, and I still don't like it. I wonder if the brighter green might be better, but I would play with these colors here to get a better contrast here. Um, let's keep scrolling. I don't know what's wrong with this section with all the white space. I don't think there's like a tall image making that happen. I was scrolling through this before, and I don't see anything. So I don't know why it's doing what it's doing, but that's not pretty at all, right? Hemp gear for victory. Yeah, see, I really think you got to work on the messaging. Um, because, obviously this is about victory, right? This isn't, and this isn't. And once again, is it about hemp, or is hemp just a means to an end, or is it the end, right? And if people want to buy it because it's hemp, then I'm wrong, right? But if they want to buy it because it's super strong, right? And that's what Joe Rogan was saying. He's like, yeah, it's. I forget the words he was using, but it's like way stronger than all the other ones, kind of thing, right? It wasn't about hemp; it was about the strength. Um, so I rethink what that message is. Now, I'm not a fan of products on the homepage, right? I like showing collections on the homepage. Now, these would probably go to those list of collection pages we talked about instead of the all products in the collection. Um, but I like showing on the homepage, browse to these things. Now, you might highlight a product, but just this carousel with no heading above it on why we're showing this to them. Are these favorites? Are these out of stock? Are they new? That kind of stuff. Um, and then, why hemp gear is blah, 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 learn more. What I would do is how we make the strongest bags known to man, or how we make the strongest gis, right? Because it's not just the hemp, right? You're using whatever sort of stitching, whatever sort of zippers, whatever design process you went through, right? Hemp is one of the tools in your toolbox to making the strongest products that you make. These images are too similar because they're the same to these images, so it just confuses people. But this is the message, right? Built to last, right? And I would graphically show a 3-year warranty on bag. I don't know what I guess gis is apparel. Um, maybe built to last with a warranty to back it up or something like that, right? Um, but you might show some badges or some seals for that kind of message instead of these lifestyle images up here. You're not doing brand building here in telling the story about you, right? Everything I said about you and the about us stuff should show up here. I showed you here. We didn't show everything right on the home page, but we showed this message and then linked to the about page with the fuller story, right? We even say right here, family owned business, and these guys, every single thing they make is made in America. But so that's super important to them. The whole American thing, as you can see, is super important to them. But putting those value props up and having the badges to support those. But I definitely see you missing here your story about the brand, right? And this story, I think the story about the brand, and this is true for most small stores, should be about the people at the brand, right? I think we have covered everything. I'm going to look at you on shop. I had it open earlier today. Now I got to figure out how to spell Datsusara. Yeah, so you can do a little branding in here also. But your products are showing up, so that's a good thing. Now let's look at one of your products and see if we can find it. In Google, see if your pages are getting indexed. So your pages are showing up. That's good, and you're not paying for ads on Google Merchant. But let's see if your products are showing up in the free section of Google Merchant. Google Merchant's the back-end tool that gets you Google shopping on the front end. And once again, my internet is going slow. Let's look at images. There we go. So your images are showing up. That's good. Let's go back to the shopping. And I'm just going to give up on that. But you should be, if you're, make sure you're using Google Merchant to get your products listed inside of the Google search here for the shopping stuff. And it's a really good place to, so these are all through Google Merchant, they're shopping ads. It's a really great place to start doing advertising. Or if you're not doing it already, to add to your advertising suite using that stuff. Yeah, I think that's enough feedback for today. I would say overall, all I did was, tear things apart, but overall, this is really nice, right? Most of the time, you're very consistent. Your branding, right? You understand a lot of your value prop, your messaging, that kind of stuff. You're making content. You got good photography and stuff. All the things I'm talking about. An extra 10% efficiency, where you're probably at 75, 80% right now. So let me know if you got any questions on all that. And thanks if you made it this far. Thanks for watching the whole video.